As the title says, this is the last Call of Duty I'm buying from Treyarch, hands down. This is literally the 5th game in the Black Ops series, and it clearly shows that Treyarch have just ran out of ideas and lost the plot basically. Before we start this video, I just want to say that there will be a lot to talk about, and there may be story spoilers with gameplay and stuff that I'll be talking about with the story, and this will be a lengthy video. Maybe longer than my Red Dead Redemption 2 video, which looking back now, I think I missed quite a lot out of that video, but I might be going back to redoing that video sometime in the future, so that might be the future plan. Anyways, do enjoy the video, and make sure to like and sub. Starting with the story, this is a pretty good story for Call of Duty. It pretty much exceeded my expectations, considering the last Call of Duty story I played was World War II and Black Ops 3 before that, and we all know how those stories turned out, and that were probably the worst Call of Duties, as well as Ghosts. Surprisingly enough, the main character you play as, who was called Beck, he has no voice, so it's essentially like Fallout 3 dialogue, where there's no voice acting for your main character, but you pick your lines. In a sense this kinda sucks, but at the same time it's neat because it increases your creativity in the way you think your character is and speaks and whatnot. And also this game was created during the pandemic, which is still obviously going on, and yeah, it makes a lot of sense as to why they took that voice acting out. There are some other missions that are quite cool and sort of spark your creativity side, which is, I think one of them, I forgot the name of it, but you have to go into a facility and take out some guy and find a certain way to take him out, so you can poison him, you could execute him, you can do certain things, and it's really, really cool, and it adds a lot of detail and reason to go back. Some missions are quite laid back as well. Some are just constant fucking chaos. For instance, the last two, well, the final mission, and in the script I actually put an S at the end of the mission. I put it in brackets because there are actually two separate ways to end the story, which I heard Modern Warfare 2019 did this, and it kind of also gives another reason to go back and adds more of a detail to a 3 to 5 hour story, which isn't really long, so yeah. There is another great thing that's possibly new, but correct me if I'm wrong here, this might have been in Modern Warfare 2019, I never played that game, I've never played any Call of Duty since World War II, and I played a lot of multiplayer of 2019's Call of Duty, but nothing story wise. But in this game you have an evidence board, which gives more content for roughly a 5 hour story, which is what I mentioned earlier. And each level you progress through, you have evidence to pick up, things to gather like intel, whatnot, to learn about your antagonist Perseus. And these also help in the final missions. With one of the missions you have to take out 3 guys before you get to Perseus. It gives you more info on these people and how to contact them and whatnot, I think. The story continues straight after Black Ops 1, which released over 10 years ago now, but what I can definitely say is that the story exceeded my expectations, mainly because the story was made by Raven, which also pitched in on the development of this game and a few other games in the past. They helped remaster Modern Warfare, the original one, and they helped with Modern Warfare Reboot, which was 2019, and also worked on a few others, I think, in the past. And it's kind of neat that all the studios have pitched in, including Sledgehammer Games and Infinity Ward, and it also does give a little bit of an insight on how the game could have ended out if it was solely by Treyarch. It would have ended up just like Black Ops 3, a shitty story, Black Ops 4, no story. As I have heard, I have not played Black Ops 4, but I heard it was also quite terrible compared to Black Ops 3. Other than that, I can't really say much on the story without going hugely into detail, which I don't want to do. I want people to experience the story for itself because it really is a great Call of Duty story. I haven't played a Call of Duty since World War II and Black Ops 3, as I mentioned before. Well, there is one big abbreviated word that pretty much sums up the state of multiplayer in this game right now, which is SBMM, skill-based matchmaking. SBMM has been a thing in COD's multiplayer for a while now, but at this point it's a little too much. Like, you do great one game, you get fucked for the next 5, and you can't bounce back for a while. And at this point, the devs are treating the players like esports players who need to try their absolute hardest when playing the games. And at that point, you're either sweat and blood, or your blood pressure's increased a little too much, or you've broken something. And that shouldn't be what COD should be. You should have ranked matchmaking where SBMM is hugely involved in, and you should have standard games where SBMM is not a thing at all, because SBMM is not only affecting the people who play the game, but the servers. Since the servers are searching in the filter for people at your specific skill set, so it's taken a longer time to search for those games, especially if you're at a really high KD level, because there's not many people at a really high KD level, especially on this fucking game. The guns in this game for multiplayer are pretty standard, the meta being the MP5, or was at the very start of multiplayer. I'm really not sure how it is now, but it's been through like 2 patches. It got nerfed, and then the nerf got reverted, and then it got nerfed again, or something. I do not know, so don't correct me if I'm wrong. Sorry. The FFAR-1 is a pretty decent weapon, being similar to the MP5, or quite actually better in my case, since it was the first weapon I managed to get gold on, and it's kind of difficult to control with the recoil, but you can get used to it for a while. Shotguns are surprisingly similar, but not completely one shot like the 725 at launch of Modern Warfare's multiplayer. It's the damage isn't comparable to the 725, but everything else is pretty much a pea shooter. I think the RPD is kind of really great in damage. I've used that with shooting down kill streaks and whatnot. The gunsmith is another appalling aspect of multiplayer, as if Treyarch just looked at Infinity Ward's gunsmith and just decided to say, hey, we'll copy your homework and make sure it's not the same. It's a really dumbed down version of the original gunsmith, which was probably the best I've ever seen in any Call of Duty or any game completely. It's so bad to the point that it's obvious that they copied, and it's a pile of shit because every single attachment is essentially the same, and if you compare some attachments to Modern Warfare, some of the stocks could increase accuracy but decrease movement speed. There is nothing that increases accuracy except like the odd 2 grips, and it's like none of them make sense at that point. It's like, what the fuck? It's terrible, and it's one of the worst aspects of this game. Excluding the completely copied gunsmith, SBMM, and the sheer amount of people using the MP5 for another whole year, and the shitty netcode, multiplayer is actually kind of fun, with it being almost as close as my most played aspect of this game, which is zombies. So yeah, it's great when you can ignore the shit side of it. Zombies is always Treyarch's strong suit, since they're the original developers of Zombies for Call of Duty, which actually dates back all the way to Call of Duty's World at War, that was released in 2008, which was 12 to 13 years ago. In this COD, Zombies is a little bit different, but mostly similar to Black Ops 3. But get rid of the likes of Shadows of Evil and most of the DLC maps that you have to grind, and the maps that rely on Easter eggs, because, yeah, this map doesn't really rely on Easter eggs, even though it does have one. Or two, maybe. But yeah. Zombies is a lot of fun with a lot of power-ups, customization, and actually score streaks. I don't know how they got into zombies, but we'll just let that roll by. Also with zombies, we have the generic perks, excluding double tap and mule kick, sadly, since they aren't actually in the game for some reason. I don't know why they've been taken out, but they were taken out. We also get field upgrades, skills, a set of upgrades for each and every class of weapons, and some ammo mods. Each time you reach round 10, 15, and 20, and then every 10 rounds from 20, you win ether crystals, which are basically upgrade points for skills, field upgrades, and whatnot in the gunsmith. And each upgrade is actually very worth it. They increase damage in some perks, like for the melee class, if you upgrade that to the max, you get to use a knife for normal melee stuff because it uses the butt of the gun as a knife, or it replaces the knife, the butt with the knife words. So that gives you more of a reason to grind zombies a lot, and well, other than the insane amount of weapon XP and normal XP players get from it. So yeah, outside of that, zombies is just the generic zombies. It's always been turn power on, activate power, or activate Pack-a-Punch. Pack-a-Punch is actually quite easier than it used to be. So what you do is you slip into the ether, which is like another side of the world, and you find the part for the Pack-a-Punch, build it, and then that's it. It takes 5 minutes or less to activate Pack-a-Punch. But yeah, with Pack-a-Punch there is 3 tiers. First being 5k points, next being 15k, third being 30k, and that's really it. It's only 3 tiers. But each tier actually gives higher damage and salvage drop rates, which is really useful. And on the topic of salvage, these come handy in the arsenal, which is basically an upgrade station for your character's armor and weapons. And yeah, I always max out the weapon tiers because they're very useful for damage, especially with the Gallo. Each level start on a common salvage, and then the second type of salvage, which is actually harder to get. But yeah, each tier is very useful. Like the Pack-a-Punch tier, they just increase damage and a lot of things. So you actually earn salvage by killing zombies, and the rate of drop is actually quite small, but not rare. The drop rate for weapon salvage is actually quite rare, but the other salvage is common. But you get the most salvage by killing Megatons, which are the bosses, and they have 2 phases. One's a big giant phase that splits fucking laser laser things at you. It's weird. It's like a green thing, like buggers. And they burn you as well. But in the second phase, once you kill the first one, it splits into 2, and they do the same thing, but actually slap you even harder than the first one. And yeah, they also shoot buggers at you. Now you hear me mention this will be the last COD I'm buying from Treyarch, and probably it will be the last COD I'm buying overall at this point, because the game is just garbage. If none of the companies worked with Treyarch on this project, it would be worse than it actually is right now. And that's actually saying something, because this game is a pile of fucking shit at this point. It's really terrible. This is the 5th game in the Black Ops series right now, and it's copied and pasted over and over again. It's a pile of crap. Ever since Black Ops 2, it's went downhill completely. And it's kind of sad to see what's happened with the developers during this during the development stage of this game, and there's only 2 companies, maybe 3, to blame on this, because Sledgehammer and Raven apparently split developments because of creative differences. Then Activision forced Treyarch to finish this game and release it roughly less than 12 months of time to do it, and they had to switch over to different engines and whatnot, and it just wasn't enough time. And I can't stress the amount of fun and hours I put into Modern Warfare 2019. After I picked that up, I couldn't stop playing it, and switching back to this, it doesn't feel good. It feels like a complete downgrade from Modern Warfare, and I get a lot of people don't like Modern Warfare at all, and probably don't like this even more than Modern Warfare, but in my opinion, it's just a huge mess. They've copied ideas and made them completely worse, and it's really bad. Anyways, that's it for me, guys. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. Want to see more, then subscribe, and stay saucy, like always.